The action. This is Michael.
And Jake, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, man?
Great.
So little last second audible here.
Yeah.
As we teased in our last episode, we were gonna go with Everybody Wants Some from Richard Linklater, but due to not too many streaming options for that right now, and broke college student and broke early professional, had to move to something that was on streaming.
Yeah.
So we have the pleasure of talking about Saving Private Ryan today.
Great film.
Incredible.
Honestly, I haven't seen it in a couple years, and just like that first 30 minutes, a whirlwind of, I mean, I knew what was coming and it still hit me like a freight train. I was definitely, all the emotions came into effect. It was kind of just stunning. And watching it with a roommate that didn't know what was coming was fascinating to see his, like, he has seen it before, but it was mo pretty much his first time viewing it, and understanding what was going on. And it was a great experience for sure.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about our recent watch experiences because um, as a first year teacher, I have history versus Hollywood as an elective for social studies. And this I just showed this movie to my class, the last one we've watched. It's kind of why it's
That's incredible.
why I recommended it because it was just kind of fresh on the mind. But
Yeah.
to
Can I
watch it
sit in
with,
on that class?
oh, I wish, yeah, it's a great time. I'm getting paid to do it. It's pretty
There you
wild.
go. There you go.
Um, but to watch it with 50 um 14 to 18-year olds, interesting experience. Well, I'm also, kind of chaperoning and teaching. It's a different movie watching experience for sure. So I've seen it twice in 50-minute increments in the last week. So it's been very interesting. We'll just name drop your roommate, Trammell Lindstrom.
Yeah.
Pretty disappointed that he had never seen this all the way through. Glad that he's finally seen it,
He
but pretty
he
disappointed in
he
Tram.
was adamant that he had seen it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if he knew everything that was happening. And
Hmm.
it was good to be there and experience it with him. It's kind of like, and next I'm going to show him Band of Brothers, so that kind of goes right along with this that he has never seen. So yeah, that'll be, what was the, I'm curious to see what your class's response was and how that correlates with an adult seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, part of what we were going to go through today is what I asked my class and their reflection on the movie. So, kind of get your answer from that as, quasi adult and what my students kind of brought to the table. So let's jump right into that actually. So we took a look at the movie. I kind of warned them beforehand just kind of to save my butt of the graphic nature of the film. They had signed waivers and everything beforehand, but
Have to.
just to understand that there were men who were on the beaches of Normandy that saw this film and it was depicted so realistically that they had to walk out. It gave them
Yeah.
too much of a clear memory of that just terrible, terrible day. So I gave them that warning, and then we watched the movie in, like I said, the 50-minute increments. It ended up being to where the last section in Ramel, we had to just see like the last 15 minutes, and the earn it portion just was like a 15-minute portion at the end of our fourth period together. But
Yeah.
so the first question I ask him is just to rate the movie. I do it with every movie. This is by far the highest rated so far.
Really?
Compared to Cinderella Man. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so
I love that movie actually.
my students loved Cinderella Man. I was a little bit surprised. But this one they just loved. They had a lot more reasons. I make them give specific examples of why they liked or disliked the movie. They had a
Mhm.
ton of examples on the ready, which is pretty rare. So they were locked into this one. It's a long movie too. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
first question is the graphic nature of the film. So just kind of get your thoughts on it. Like obviously the first 20 minutes are gut wrenching. I watched it on my plan hour the week before just to kind of orient myself into it again.
Yeah.
And I had just eaten my lunch, and it's I mean when the guy's intestines are like out of his body,
Yeah.
and the guy is reaching to grab his own arm that's been blown off, and Tom Hanks is shaking, and when Tom Hanks is shaking, like you get all the correlations of that to the real life person of Tom Hanks, but you see him as a
Mhm.
character, like he's basically immortal. Like he's forget. I mean, it's later in the timeline of his career, but for us, it's we weren't born yet. I mean, he survives on an island by
Yeah.
himself. Like he's immortal. He survives a plane crash and then lives on an island by himself. He's immortal. So to see Tom Hanks like that, just kind of, but for you, the graphic nature of the film, do you think that it was necessary? Do you think that they got what was intended, Spielberg, out of the movie?
Um, I think it's 100% necessary, and I think without it, it minimizes the impact of what the film actually brings.
Hmm.
Um, I think in a way, you can kind of separate this into like three distinct different stories
Hmm.
or almost films. The first like 25 to 30 minutes is more just like this is what happened. Like we're not gonna be pushing a narrative for this opening sequence. It's more just gonna be like you are time traveling and getting placed in as a fly on the wall to see what it was really like to storm Omaha Beach. And I think that is why, like you said, veterans had PTSD in the theaters watching this. That's why it's so graphic. And the craziest thing is that it holds up to this day. You'd think that a movie that's over 20 years old at this point, um, you you'd think that you'd be able to tell or see it. But honestly, if this movie was released today, I'd think that it was one of the better, um, more well done, well produced films, especially war movies. I think it's something that we've gotten away from with the advancement of CGI. I think we lose out on the grittiness and the realness of what war actually is. And you have movies like I watched Kingsman like a week ago. I'm
Hmm.
like, if this movie was made in the style that Kingsman was made, it just would not hit. It would not be the same. It would lose me for sure, especially in this first sequence. This didn't happen.
Yeah,
There's no way that happened. But then, but feeling it, and I mean, there's blood on the lens. Like
yeah.
that's an insane touch. And I think the moment where Tom Hanks is I don't know if he's concussed or he's just in shock. I think we're all in
Hmm.
shock at that point. That is the turning point of the whole movie and the whole viewer experience. Is when he kind of snaps out of it, is when you kind of have to lock in as a viewer and be like, okay, this is happening. This is what this is going to be like. And then the complete 180 after that of going to the the Ryan household is just 100 to 0 super
Hmm.
fast,
Yeah,
and the shock and awe of all of it um really puts everything into perspective. And I just think that the first 30 minutes alone deserves an Oscar, and it's a tragedy that it didn't. But
it's not even worth the
that's
conversation of
that's a whole
how much of a
that could be a whole
travesty.
episode.
Well, as we know, that's one of Harvey Weinstein's biggest accomplishments
Hmm.
before all of his scandals is to get Shakespeare in Love that win, just to
Yeah.
understand the politics and like the behind the scenes of Hollywood and the Oscars at the time.
That's a
Uh,
bad man.
it's it's
Bad
just
man.
it's just like awards in high school for like all state, all regional. It's all politics. It's who you know. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
be good. You got to be good to get to the table for sure. But then who your coach knows, who they happen to have a conversation with that day, who are they having a drink with that night, like that's all the stuff that matters, and that's all the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, like you said, it's a threefold story, right? So you have that documentary of the beginning, handheld camera, like this is happening. You're dropped into it. Then in this middle portion, you've got just the story of the company moving along, the Rangers together and their intricacies, their distinct personalities. And then for the
More of like a
last,
group on a mission type of a movie, and
yeah,
like, and that's a huge war movie trope of group of guys need to do this one thing and they go along different obstacles
mhm,
to get there. But I just think this does it so much better than most other films.
for sure. Then that final chunk, you have actually getting to Matt Damon and James Francis Ryan, not James Frederick Ryan. Uh, but you get to that
Frederick
last part of
Ryan
the
is
story.
he's in a show
Nathan
that I
Fillion,
see on
yeah,
TikTok all the time. I'm pretty sure like a cop
the
show.
the rookie, yeah, he's
That
uh
yeah
he's
yeah
known
yeah.
for that. He's also a frequent James Gunn collaborator.
Mm,
He's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stuff. That's another thing I want to bring up. This is a funny movie. Like there's so many like laugh out loud
yeah
moments,
yeah.
and I don't think my students quite got to that level yet because one, they're 14 to 18, their attention span's going in and out with it'll be like really intense and really slow, and they're probably phasing in and out of the movie. but there were times where I'm laughing in the back, and it felt like maybe because of that first 30 minutes, they felt like maybe this
Maybe you
isn't
shouldn't. A little
yeah, this maybe
apprehensive,
isn't
like,
a movie where I need to be laughing, even though
yeah.
it's pretty hysterical in a couple
But
moments,
I mean, that's needed in a war film,
for
because
sure.
those down times of like brotherhood that
Hmm.
this movie executes very at a very high level. That's what separates really like good movies to iconic films. And just you feel like these people have been together for years, and that is something that you need to have.
Hmm.
Um, because they have like these characters have been together for like 3 years at this point.
Yep.
And it feels like it. They feel like a mini family. They argue, they bicker, but then they love each other and they know how to get under each other's skin. And anybody who's ever been in a team setting or a group setting knows exactly what this feels like. And it almost brings you home, and it brings you to a relatable point with these characters, and it just makes their trials and tribulations that much harder to see. Because if you don't care about the characters, like why would I care if they're getting shot at or if they're in a dire situation or that I don't want to get into it yet, but the scene that gets me the most um right at the end when Mellish is fighting for his life and Oppum is standing right outside the stairs. I found myself, I know what happens. I'm
Hmm.
yelling at Oppum. I'm like,
Yeah.
go in the room, help him. And that is the most brutal death in maybe cinema history. Like the
Did
slow
did
burn of
Trammell
like,
have a reaction to that one?
no, I was looking over there and I'm like,
Yeah. 'Cause
but I don't
I
know.
could see him being one that's screaming
Yeah,
obscenities
it
at the
was
TV
he
screen.
actually was very mellow. It was
Okay.
I was surprised almost. I don't know,
Yeah.
like you said, the attention
Hmm.
span,
Yeah,
because it is a long movie,
it
and
is.
first watch, it's a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, to be locked in and catch all these moments, like the foobar moments,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, he ended up asking me, he's like, "What does foobar mean?" I'm like, I mean, they did say it.
Yeah.
It's like one of the
It,
payoffs of the movie. Just all these different things between the characters are great for me.
yeah. That's also part of it. It's a highly rewatchable movie because, like Fubar, for example, the first time they say it, you kind of chuckle to yourself because you're in on the joke,
Hmm.
and Upham has no idea what they're talking about.
He's like,
And you,
I
Fubar,
actually
the
know
German,
German.
yeah, like, oh, I've never heard of that one before. Oh, I looked in the German dictionary, couldn't find it anywhere. And another theme of this movie would be leadership, I'd say. How how you lead and how you respond to leadership for sure. Looking at Captain Miller, um, understanding that he's a flawed man. He's he's not like this picture perfect soldier. Like we said, he gets off the boat and he's shaking. He doesn't know what to do. He's disoriented. Everyone's looking at him what to do. They're sound of mind looking to go, but he's struggling. He gets
Yeah,
it together and goes. Later in the movie, he struggles to get Ryben to follow his orders. He struggles to get really his whole battalion, his whole company to follow his orders when they raid the radar station. Uh, but you see he knows exactly what to do at the right moment.
yeah,
And you see in examples of characters like Ryben who are just like that guy that, maybe to equate it to sports, the teammate that you'd love to have on your team, but if he was on the other team, you'd hate his guts
hate
type
him.
of guy.
Yeah,
And even maybe
there's always a
sometimes,
Ryman.
even maybe sometimes when he's on your team, you hate his guts a little bit. Um, but just yeah, that kind of how you take leadership and how you actually lead. Definitely a big theme in this movie.
I mean, he's just a regular guy, right? He's a teacher. He's
Yeah,
you. I mean,
right.
like if we go into World War III in 8 years, that would be you. That's what Captain Miller was, and um, that's what World War II was. That was just a bunch of
Hmm.
regular guys, um, doing what they had to do. And
Hmm.
like we like to think nowadays of like super soldiers or like superhero movies and like oh rah rah about all this like crazy stuff. And it's like in reality, it's just regular guys performing extraordinary
Hmm.
tasks. And this movie encapsulates that perfectly. Um, kind of stemming away from that with the casting in this movie is incredible.
So good.
Like even the people that weren't known at the time,
Hmm.
you look back and it's just like that makes this even more of a rewatch. because
Yeah,
characters that are in it for 2 minutes, like Bryan Cranston with one arm, like
amazing.
seriously, I'm like, are you kidding
Yeah,
me? Um,
you got Dale
just-
Dye
yeah, I was just about to
as
say, I didn't want to be that guy, but Dale Dye is he's the man.
he's
His
awesome.
voice, his voice is honestly like if you throw Dale Dye in any single movie, it
Hmm.
makes it better,
Yep. And he's who
especially
we
as
have to
that character.
thank. He's who we have to thank for like the grittiness and the realness, starting with Platoon.
Hmm.
He becomes the technical advisor on Platoon with Oliver Stone because he comes home from Vietnam and he's like, these war movies suck. Like
Yeah.
they are nothing like what we're actually experiencing. So they need some guidance. It's like the Bill Simmons sports coordinator on sports movies. Like, please just let me onto a Hollywood set and show you what actually needs to happen.
It's
But
crazy.
for war. And so having him in there is great. And then knowing Band of Brothers coming later with his boot camp stuff, and he ran the boot camp for this movie as well. There's obviously the famous story of the main group that we see, they went through boot camp together, but Matt Damon went on his own little boot camp that was a lot easier to the side of everyone
Mhm.
else, and
Which is awesome.
they let them know that.
Yeah.
So you kind of build that natural uh, haste towards him.
Are we
Uh,
supposed to like Private Ryan?
yeah, that's a great question.
Because I don't know. And Matt Damon does it so good, so well that like I mean I want him to survive, but it's like you're kind of a dick right now. Like
Yeah,
the whole sequence when he's like, "Well, I'm not leaving my post." Well, yeah, you are. You're ordered to leave. You're like, "What are you talking about?" I,
it's so hard. It's
you
such a
turn into Ryben
dichotomy,
at that point. You turn into
right?
like, "Screw this guy." Like why would I care about this guy?
And if you place yourself in the center, though, you realize, like, put yourself in Ryan's shoes.
Well, yeah,
All of
obviously.
his
Yeah.
brothers are dead. These are the only people he has left. He doesn't even have his airborne troop that he
Yeah.
paratrooped out with. He doesn't have anybody left. These are the
Mm-mm.
people that he knows.
Because shout out Gary Bertier, shout out Remember the Titans, the deaf guy, one of the greatest, one of the like greatest heat checks in any movie. He comes
Oh,
in,
James
what?
Francis Ryan.
And I mean, if you don't know who that is, like he could probably just move right on by. But after knowing like who that is and that he's a very successful actor in his own right,
Hmm.
um, just again, perfect casting. I just want to
Talent.
go through the names.
Yeah.
Hanks, Ed Burns, Tom Sizemore, Vin Diesel, young Diesel. I was
Okay.
calling.
Diesel's the only one that I have somewhat of an issue with. I'm just not a big Vin Diesel guy, but I
I think
don't
he does
mind him.
Caparzo well.
Yeah, I don't mind him because he doesn't last very long. Like
Yeah,
he's not in it for very long.
leave the
He,
little girl behind, Caparzo.
I mean, that's just a terrible decision, but we'll move on from that.
Yeah, I mean Barry Pepper is amazing in anything that he's in.
Incredible,
Have you seen We Were
incredible.
Soldiers?
Yes.
I mean, he's a totally different character in that, but he's
Hmm.
still Barry Pepper and he's amazing.
Still
Anyway,
amazing.
Matt Damon, Ted Danson's in this movie.
Yep.
He comes
Talk
in,
about a heat check. That's
bang.
incredible. Mows down like 15 Germans and then is like, yeah, bring Ryan
He's
home.
like, yep, see ya. Paul Giamatti's a part of that sequence.
Another heat check.
Ribisi, I mean, I know
Hmm.
him from Ted. I don't know.
I'm not a Ted guy. I know him from he played a mobster, a real life mobster on the making of The Godfather, The Offer.
I haven't
So
seen that. My dad said that's incredible though.
he's the mobster in that, like the real mob guys that were behind The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Godfather. He's really
That
good in it.
that's got Adam Driver, right?
Not Adam Driver, Miles Teller,
Miles Teller. What is
and he's great in it.
okay, okay.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
I have it on in the background here, and this is Ribisi dying,
of course
Wade's
you did.
death at the radar site, and just
Spoiler,
an
spoiler alert.
agonizing death to watch. The morphine.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, it's terrible. They're just like, give him another one. Give
Yeah.
him another one.
Because I mean
Terrible.
he's dead. Wow, what a sequence.
What other names we got there?
Um, that's about it. Farina, Dennis Farina.
Farina's a good like 2 minute scene to give the
Yeah.
mission.
I mean, he's just like there, I guess.
Yeah. Ed
Um,
Burns, I don't know if you said him yet.
I
That's
did.
Ryben. I I don't know him from anything else. This is the only
Apparently,
experience I have from him.
apparently late 90s, he was like the it guy
Yeah.
leading up to this movie, and then he kind of just went in the rom-com direction. And um, I don't know. He kind of just he doesn't. I don't know why he didn't become a movie star after this because he has
Yeah.
everything. He's obviously a great actor. He's got a distinct look. Um, but one thing that me and Trem actually talked about was he is Ben Affleck. Like he
Yeah.
looks just like Ben Affleck.
That was
And
my next point
like I think
is
Affleck just might have taken all his roles. Like
part of it too is he's incredibly annoying in the film, but he's supposed to be. I understand that he's supposed to be. And
yeah.
I've never talked or spoken to anybody that's from Brooklyn, New York. And he could be doing it perfectly. He could be getting the stereotypes down. He might be there for all I know, but he's incredibly annoying. And by the end, he has a couple of redeeming moments when, again, spoiler, Captain Miller is lying there and he's trying to get a medic to him. Kind of all the animosity between them is, out the window and he's trying to help him. So like he wins points back at the end for me, but he's just not very fun to watch. And and it
He
seems like
redeemed
he's doing
himself.
it just seems like he's doing a Ben Affleck impression.
You think
And
so? You
I
don't think
think
he's
so.
good in this movie?
He does a good job of being hated by the audience, in my opinion. But I feel like he's just doing a Ben Affleck impersonation because they couldn't get Ben because of the connection between Ben and Matt. Like it just wouldn't. It'd have been too distracting,
Yeah, 100%.
especially in that time
Yeah,
because they meet
because
together and
they
Ryben is like
he
yelling at
hates him.
Matt Damon. That doesn't make any sense. Like that just wouldn't
It would
fit.
have been funny.
It would have been funny, but it would have taken us completely out of the movie. It would have been Clerks or Goodwill Hunting Part Two in Ramel. Like
Yeah.
it's just not what we're going for. But Sizemore is great.
He'd be like, the
Looking
greatest part of my day every day is coming to remember that you're not going to be here.
looking at Mrs. Ryan, telling her his son's coming home. Oh,
Oh
that's
my
good. That's
gosh.
good. Another question I had for my students that I'd like to give to you is, and then I've talked about with some colleagues that have taught the class in the past, is the theme of prisoners of war.
Hmm.
So you've got the main examples you've got at the beginning. They're making their way past the beach. They come up to what you think are two German soldiers, but they're actually Czech. And they're speaking Czech, and I don't believe it's subtitled. What they're
No.
yelling, and the two soldiers just shoot them in cold
Like
blood
they're
as they're
like, what?
surrendering.
They're like,
Yeah,
what? What?
what,
I
bang, and
actually
then
didn't
they,
know that they were Czech.
yeah,
That's the
that's
first I've ever heard about that.
yeah, it's kind of a deep cut, I think, with like their
What they were
uniforms
wearing.
because they're obviously part of the German war machine at the time, but
Right.
they're
Right.
but they're speaking Czech and they're actually Czech. So the treatment of them, obviously the just quick execution and then the derogatory nature that they speak about them, like the "oh, I watched for supper," like that, like that's what they're saying. So the way that the Americans treat them there, and then getting to I don't think he has a name in the film, but I will just call him Steamboat Willie. I say, can you see that guy?
Yeah.
Um, and just kind of the internal battle that Upham's trying to fight throughout all this. Again, he's never seen combat. This is his first taste of it, and he's killed Wade. And now, do we shoot him? Do we make him dig his own grave and then kill him in that grave, or do we do what we're supposed to and let him go?
Hmm.
And obviously, they let him go, and he ends up putting the fatal wound into Captain Miller, with Upham at the end gathering all of them together, and he sees Upham, and he's like, Upham, it's me, and then he shoots him in cold blood. So there's a full arc there with Upham. So just kind of what are your thoughts on the what the movie's trying to say?
My my thoughts on what the movie's saying or what uh, Abum is my least favorite character in this whole movie. And
Well, yeah, I don't think
obviously,
anybody looks at this and is like, yeah, Upham, you get him.
I don't I don't know if that's supposed to be a redemption of him or if it's cementing how much of a coward he actually is.
Right.
Because I can go both ways because oh, now you have the courage to do what you had to do
Hmm.
now that they're surrendering to you
Yep.
and you were just fighting. Like if you're gonna have morals, stand on those
Yeah.
and like stay committed to what you're doing. And if you want to muster up courage to like kill, go help your buddies that are dying right in front of you. I mean, that whole character, no redemption there for me. At least with Ryben, there was
Yeah.
at the end when I mean, obviously throws down for the boys, and he's there 100%.
He's
Um,
the first one out there as the bait too.
yeah,
Like
and
he's that guy.
he it sucks that he's like the only one that survives. Him, Opham, and Ryan, the three, like, obviously
Terrible people.
those are the three people that you dislike the least out of
Mhm.
any of the main cast.
The person that's compassionate to the child is killed immediately. The
Yeah,
medic who's trying to help everybody constantly. The leader who's trying to get everybody to do the correct things. And his loyal companion
but
all
yeah,
end up
the
dying.
sergeant
And
and
Mellish who's there along for the ride.
Barry Pepper too.
Oh yeah, and the faith,
The
the guy with
Uber,
faith, the
the
guy
faith-driven sniper that,
positivity, clear conscience,
yeah.
all of those people
I
end up
think
biting the
that's the
dust.
overarching theme of the movie is that those things that each of those people represent, because they all represent one quality that we should all strive for,
Hmm.
like leadership, loyalty, faith, positivity, um, a helping hand.
Yeah,
Those things all disappear uh, in our darkest moments, in war especially.
right.
Uh,
I think that's especially what it's trying to convey is that war is terrible.
mhm,
War makes us do things that you never thought you'd be able to do or you never thought would be possible. And they make you flip your morals in
yeah,
crazy messed up ways.
it
Uh,
sucks.
one one thing I did want to touch back on is, like you said, kind of the gritty nature of like the cinematography of the movie.
It's
It's so
amazing.
distinct, and it's to me, it's what makes the movie because I started a Thin Red Line. Have you ever seen that movie?
This is it the sniper movie or
It's not a sniper movie. It's World War II. It came out in the same year, and it's Terrence
about
Malick.
Russia?
No, it's U.S. troops off in the Pacific Theater
Oh, okay.
on like a remote island
I
with
have not seen it.
a tribe of uh like indigenous people. And the movie looks too beautiful.
Right,
It's
yeah. War's
it's
not beautiful.
it's not. And in this case, there's a reason for it. It's Terrence Malick. So if you've seen any Terrence Malick movies, it's all about nature and like kind of the circle of life. And like he's got, I think it's called The Brave New World or The New World. It's about the colonists coming to America and interacting with Native Americans. And it's just this gorgeous movie of nature and how like we're one with it and all this stuff. But it when you watch Saving Private Ryan and then you go to that, it's it's too beautiful. It's too elegant. Like I can see the pores on Jared Leto's face and Jim
Hmm.
Caviezel's face. I shouldn't be able to see that in this gritty movie. And you move to Band of Brothers, which is obviously executively produced by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg as a result of Saving Private Ryan, and it's got the same gritty nature to it. And I think it's what really immerses you into the conflict
That
because
world.
you watch movies like even I love 1917, the new or the newer 2019 movie about
I love
trench
that movie.
warfare, and it's a one shot. It's beautifully shot. I had that in my class as well, and I taught a little bit about cinematography and how kind of that worked. Uh, and it's beautiful, but I'm not in it. I'm
Ooh.
not in the trench with them in the sense of like the dirtiness and it's too clear. And I
Uh,
understand that we have
I
great
actually
cameras so we can do that.
I think I disagree on that.
Okay.
But I mean that's obviously we're gonna have different opinions from
Yeah.
time to time on this pod, but I'm a firm 1917 believer and fan.
Oh, I
I
love
don't
it. It's a great movie.
I think it's really gritty too. I don't know.
Yeah. I I I just feel like maybe that Saving Private Ryan set such a precedent that it's what I want to expect out of a war movie,
Mhm.
and any kind of change I don't deal with really
That's
well.
fine.
So
Have you
that
seen the Pacific then?
yeah, parts
That's
I haven't seen that one in full like I have Band of Brothers, but
yeah. Those three are the three that if anybody is like if you've never seen a war movie or a war show, those are
hmm
the three that I would hit
yeah.
right off the bat. And then Masters of the Air also just came out and it's um same team,
Yeah.
same line of but it doesn't do it as well.
I
Um
couldn't get through even an episode of that. It like
really?
I had the similar problem with it
Yeah.
was too pretty. It
Uh-huh.
was
It's too
which
new. Like it looks too good
yeah.
almost. Um
Dunkirk kind of has the same problem for me. Great film, the storytelling. Nolan's great, but it's again, it's just a little too clean.
Nolan doesn't miss.
He doesn't. Hey, did you see the new look for Matt Damon today? Speaking of Matt Damon,
The Odyssey?
yeah,
Yeah. Looks
I'm pumped.
epic. It looks incredible. I didn't know they started shooting yet.
Neither did I. That was a
That's incredible.
complete surprise.
The helmet.
It's great. And I never read the Odyssey, so it's going to be kind
What?
of yeah, I never had
You're a
the
high
chance
school
to.
teacher. That's where they read it.
No, I read the Iliad, but not the Odyssey.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
excited
unreal that
though.
you've never seen
I'm a
the Odyssey.
big Tom Holland guy, so that's going to be great too. Obviously,
Mhm.
Matt Damon. The cast is literally
Every day I
the
see a new
Oscars.
every day I see a new cast member and I'm like, he
Seriously?
is literally Thanos getting all of the Infinity Stones right now.
Well, it's like how are they going to fit everybody into this movie? But we
It'd
said
be
that
like
with
a 4 hour
Oppenheimer too,
movie.
and
Well,
Oppenheimer's definitely going to be a movie we discuss on this pod
yeah,
before the end of it.
100%. There's going to be people like Barry Pepper or Paul Giamatti that have like one line or they're just in the
Hmm.
background of a scene in the Odyssey. Like Tom Hanks could be in this movie for all we know.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, the
Soldier
cast in
number
this movie
three
is
is
so
Tom
good.
Hanks.
Giamatti in this kills me too. He's great. A little bit historically inaccurate with what just kind of a little tidbit of when he's a he plays a paratrooper in the film
Yeah,
and he's running around, he's like got ankles like a grandma. And he
I know.
says that and it's like he would not have been admitted to the paratroopers had
He
he had
doesn't
ankles
have,
like
I
that.
don't think he has the right body type to be a
Not
paratrooper,
quite
unfortunately. But
perfect person for that moment in the movie, but not quite a paratrooper.
yeah, after seeing Band of Brothers, though, it is a cool connection to make because he is an easy company,
Hmm.
and that is the company that Band of Brothers is about. So, like, hypothetically speaking, Paul Giamatti could be in Band of Brothers in that character.
Could have been missed opportunity for sure. I would have
Oh
loved some
yeah,
Giamatti and Band of
they should have
Brothers.
just thrown him in the background like of a preloading phase to the operation. But
I mean,
yeah,
they got Jimmy Fallon for an episode. I think they could have gotten Paul
oh,
Giamatti.
Jimmy Fallon comes out of nowhere in that.
Not a great jump scare for me personally.
Is it better or worse than Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones?
I hadn't gotten there in Game of Thrones. Big Ed Sheeran guy. I really think I would have hated that though if I really got
Crazy.
into it. That's
I remember sitting there like, huh?
Ed. What are you doing?
It's like what? But you did say something along the lines of like the POW and
Hmm.
how what you thought that the like what did you ask the your students about it?
Yeah, so like I had them research a little bit about what POWs experienced during that time and kind of more recently, like enhanced interrogation techniques. My great grandfather was a POW in World War II, was taken by the Germans, and
Damn,
he wasn't. We have uh, we're not gifted with height in our family, so he was a smaller guy, and he was so
short king.
emaciated. Yeah, yeah, you understand as well.
Yeah.
And when he got back from uh from the POW camp, he was like 85, 90 pounds, and he never talked about it again. So it was
Huh.
a very interesting part and of our family history. And there's actually my cousin has read a book where he's actually featured in it, because he was the only person small enough to get through a train that they were on to escape. There was like a tiny opening, and he was the smallest guy in there. He was able to get his way out and help people escape. Crazy story. Uh,
What?
it's pretty incredible. So,
How is this the first time I'm hearing about this?
so it was a unique portion also of my family history of him kind of making his way through there to eventually come home, have my grandpa down to my mom to me. So it's as a
That's
history family,
incredible.
it's cool to acknowledge for sure.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And I never met him. He passed away before I was born. So
Still
that's
though.
unfortunate, but I would have liked to have, heard. Didn't seem like he was too keen on telling his stories, which I
No,
obviously understand
no.
because,
And I think that the guys that really go through things like that,
hmm,
most of the time they don't talk about it.
yeah,
Like my great grandpa, both of them, none of them ever talked about their stuff.
yeah.
Like you said, I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I had the privilege of actually meeting my great grandpa on my dad's
Mm,
side. Um, when I was obviously young, and he was aging. But still, that was never a thing that was even like thought to be brought up.
Right.
Um, but yeah, just I was gonna that's you just threw me off. So that's
Yeah.
crazy. I was gonna just make the connection of the dilemma that they have in this movie with do we let him go or do we do what we think we need to do right now?
Hmm.
Is the exact same dilemma that uh is presented in the movie and the book and the actual event of Lone Survivor. I
Mm.
don't know if you've ever seen that or read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Almost to a T, the exact same scenario. And just the
Do we
thought that,
risk the resources of all of us to go get one man?
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and even to the effect of the goat herders that they captured, do they
Hmm.
terminate them or do they let them go? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, these guys definitely watched Saving Private Ryan. The
Yeah.
real guys that actually went
Yeah.
through this. They definitely watched this movie. And I wonder if in the back of their mind they any of them thought like, hey, the German guy that Tom Hanks let go in Saving Private Ryan ended up
Right.
putting a bullet in his chest. I wonder if that was in their deliberation ever brought up, or that's just I. This is the first time I'm ever thinking about that. Like that's pretty heavy that this movie could have carried that much weight
Oh yeah.
and maybe even influenced their decision and ultimately resulting in a tragedy. But um,
Yeah.
wow, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Do you
just
have any
to
thoughts on that? I mean, that's
yeah, I mean that's it's like what you'd say is meta of having like real life meta of having a film influence actual troops and battle in a time where you'd be thinking back to a fictionalized event of history into a movie. Just that's a lot to think about at once. There's a lot of layers to that. With just a minute left, just to kind of close with the end of the film and what Tom Hanks says, like throughout the movie, he's like, I would rather have 10 Caparzos and Vecchios and all these guys. I'd rather
Vecchio.
10 of them instead of one Ryan. And obviously, as he's sitting there and Ryan's with him at his deathbed, and he tells him two words. He says, earn this. And it's something that some people love, some people hate, but it's regardless of what you think about it, it rings true of not we can all put ourselves in the situation of Ryan, right? Of having these people gone and sacrificed their lives for us in these just terrible events of the world wars and wars beyond of what are we doing to earn what they sacrificed for us? Just something to take away from this movie every time I see it of just like what are we actually doing as Americans to earn what they gave to us?
Man. So you think they're looking at, you think that's even deeper of that Spielberg looking at the viewer and saying, how are you earning this?
For sure.
I didn't think about that, but that I love that thought and that's what I'm going to take away from this. So
Yeah.
great
Awesome.
insight.
Not sure what we're doing next, but we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Always a pleasure.